All right, folks, Vitek here from Wani. With us today, we have the monstrous Chris Jericho of Fozzy. How you doing, buddy, today?
Doing good, man. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. Love the new record, Judas. It's been on loop from last 1 month. Fantastic. It sounds massive, sounds groovy, sounds anthemic. And I got to give it to you guys for writing such a killer record.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, we spent the last 2 years on this, really wanted to do a record that had not just 2 singles, but 3 singles, where every song could be a single, kind of like the classic records from Appetite to Destruction, or Hysteria, or In Excess Kick, where there was just single after single after single released on the record, and you never knew like just how many great songs there were on it. And that's what we wanted to do, was really focused on the songs, and not worried about if it has a guitar solo, or if there's some whooshing screams in it just because I can do it. And I think after 2 years of a lot of work and reconfiguring the songs and working them out over and over again, that we could achieve that.
Absolutely, man. You mentioned about the 2 year gap, and now the first single, the Judas, came out months ago, and the response has been absolutely fabulous. It's probably broken all the records in Fozzy's history, be it from the sales or the radio airplay time, and most importantly, the fan response. It's been really great, and you yourself mentioned that it's kind of become your Enter Sandman sort of a stuff. But when I listen to this album, Chris, I get a feeling that when fans are going to get a copy of their album, they're going to hear few more songs that are equally good and demand the same attention as Judas.
I agree. This is not a song, when I said it's like Enter Sandman, I mentioned in the context of the Black Album or Hysteria, where there was 3 or 4 other tunes that definitely fit in that same category. And
right.
Judas was not the overwhelming first choice for the single for this record.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little bit of a debate early on whether it should be Painless or whether it should be Elevator or whether it should be, Burn Me Out. There's a bunch of different ones on there that people were kind of discussing. Mm-hmm. And we went with Judas first, which was the right decision. But I think now with all the doors that Judas has opened, that a song like Painless could come right in there and do even better, because Judas kind of did the groundwork and broke down the barriers, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And now people are very much waiting for the next Wani song, where I think Painless can come straight in there and do even better.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, this album is a perfect example of not giving a flying fuck about rules. I mean, I love it's Fozzy with 0% fear and 100% badass songwriting. Is this because you guys have found your sound over the last few albums and now it's time to hold it tenfold?
Well, it really is, because, like you said, we don't give a flying fuck about it. Our only way we have a chance to stand out in this age is to do things our way, and do things the way that we want to do it.
Right.
We love bands that had no problems changing and reinventing, like Bowie, U2, and Guns N' Roses, and Led Zeppelin, the Beatles. There was never 2 albums that were the same.
Right.
Still very much Beatles albums, for example, but there's a lot of different styles of songwriting on there. And we wanted to kind of go in that direction of just like, if it sounds good, everything will do it. And I think we started doing that on You Want to Start a War, and really followed through with her on Judas. So, there's a lot of diversity on this record. There's a lot of different types of songwriting, a lot of different types of parts that maybe other bands wouldn't try. But we have to do that because it's who we are as musicians. That those are the influences that we have. And like I said, we knew that if we just stood out and did ourselves and stayed true to ourselves, that the record would turn out great, and that our fans would appreciate it, and we would make new fans as well. And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. I love how all these 11 tracks, like you said, it's pretty diverse. I hear a myriad of different influences, be it the techno side of it, the groovier side, and a little bit of a prog rock here and there as well. And it's flowing really well. You guys aren't forcing it. Instead, it just comes naturally. Where does this inspiration come from? Is it the collective ideas that you have within the band, or is it the different backgrounds that you guys come from?
Well, it's one of the different influences in the band, and that's another reason why we have the sound that we have. I mean, obviously we're all influenced by the classic metal bands like Priest and Maiden, Cars and Scorpions. And, there's the Metallica influences, the Pantera and that sort of thing. But there's also, there's a lot of rap influences as far as the loops that you hear in rap songs.
Right.
The background percussion and that sort of thing. Of course, the very much into funk music from the 70s. We love Cool again. We love yacht rock like Slayer and Hall & Oates. And we love Journey and Styx and Foreigner, as well as all the classic 60s bands like the Stones, etc. So there's really no rules as to what a Fozzy song consists of. There's just a vibe and a feeling. And I think, one thing is that since we really put the focus on Fozzy as a full-time thing in 2010, even though it's their 7th record, it's the 4th record since the rebirth.
Right.
And I think you look at most bands, it takes them up to 2 or 3 records to really find out who they are as a band, really hone in on that. If you think of Metallica, for example. And that's what we've done. And I think now, with Judas, we've really figured out what our sound is, and it's a mix of many different things, but the bottom line is it's very heavy, groove-oriented, with a lot of melody and a lot of harmony. That's what Fozzy is. I used to say if Metallica and Journey had a bastard child, it'd be Fozzy. Now I'm going to change it to, on this record, if Metallica and Journey had a bastard child and it was raised by AC/DC, then you may have a little bit of what Fozzy sounds like.
Awesome, dude. That's really good to hear. You mentioned about, earlier that there are very less solos on the album. And that's where the beauty of the record lies, because there's so much importance given to the riffs, and whatever solos we hear on the album are also scattered throughout the landscape that capture a good amount of melody as well. And the beauty of the album, I felt, was there was no need to have a solo. Fozzy doesn't want to force having solos on each song. Instead, it just comes out the way it's supposed to be, and that's something which not many bands do. And even after you guys did it, it just sounded natural.
Well, yeah, and that's the influence of Johnny Andrews, our producer, who Rich and I decided we wanted to have an outside producer on this record and give him the final say on what we would do and what we wouldn't do. And I think that he was always more concerned about the song, not worried about if there's a solo or an extended section or whatever it may be. It was what's best for the song. And there's a lot of songs that were cut down a lot shorter than they would have been because of that mindset and that thought process. And it worked. There's no solo in Judas. There's no solo in Painless. But the songs where there is solos, they kick ass. Shit Drinking with Jesus, Rules That They, Capsize.
Indeed.
Great solos on those songs. So it's not like we abandoned guitar solos completely and pulled out a Metallica Saint Anger. We just said, is this song better with a solo or does it just there to be gratuitous? And if it didn't fit, then we didn't use it.
Awesome. Fantastic, dude. That's really good to hear. And your vocals, as always, uplifting, such positivity in it. So many hooks out there, lovely choruses, and I'm sure fans are going to have the similar feeling when they listen to this album. Any sort of preparations you did for this record as compared to something you didn't do in the past?
Well, not really. The difference is that now I think we know how to write songs for my vocal range, and that's important as a singer. Every singer knows what they do best, and knows what their wheelhouse is, and knows what range fits their sound. Right. And that's one thing I think we've really focused in on over the last few years. Once again, is there is a lot of great melody lines on these records, but they're very much tailored for Chris Jericho. Some of them aren't easy. None of them are easy, as a matter of fact. There's a lot of preparation, just landing them properly, because there's a lot of little nuances on what you need to do. This note trails up a bit, this one trails down a bit. What is the theme and the vibe and the thought that you want? So a lot of it's trial and error too, going there, and because it's not just seeing the right notes, there's different intonation and different tones that you use, and different feelings that you want to get across with what you're saying. So I just think because we really know who I am as a singer, both me and Rich and Johnny, who wrote the songs on the record, it makes it a little bit more direct in our approach as to what type of a vocal line we have. And it pays off because like a song like Judas, I mean, I can sing the shit out of that. It's right in my range. It's perfect. It couldn't be any better. It's, you know, and it's not too high, it's not too low, it's not too rough, it's not too clean. And that's one of the I think at this point it is a little bit of a trademark aspect for sound, which is great. I mean, they're the greatest singers of all time. As soon as you hear them, you know who they are. And I think I've got that now at this point.
Awesome, dude. That's really good to hear. You know, obviously, the touring demands a lot of, things, especially when it comes to health and obviously maintaining your vocals as well. And Fozzy has become a touring machine, and you've been all over, America lately. And obviously, you have your career with WWE as well. So when you think of your physical condition that you maintain for the wrestling part of it, does this help your physical conditioning that allows you to handle the madness of touring with Fozzy?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think that it's both very physical, don't get me wrong. As a matter of fact, I sweat a lot more at a Fozzy show than I do in WWE because it's 90 minutes beginning to end of just going nuts. And then, we have a very energetic stage show. And I think that's, I think because you're in good physical shape, it helps for WWE and for Fozzy. But I will say this, I've had just as many injuries from Fozzy as I had from WWE, chipped teeth, and you twist your knee from jumping, or all that sort of stuff. At least in wrestling, you can take breaks from time to time. It's more of a 10, 20-minute story, whereas Fozzy from beginning to end is just a sprint. And it's very taxing on the body. And sometimes, we did a couple shows this summer in England. Small shows are called underplays. We'll never do some festivals, so you just take up a little rooms to get some money to put in the gas tank, so to speak. And it was so hot on stage, I felt like I was going to pass out. And I've never been that tired in my life as I was after the shows in England, because it's just so damn hot. But, it's rock and roll, man. It's only rock and roll, but we like it.
Absolutely. That's really well said. Obviously, with you having, two amazing careers, one that's you're passionate about your music, and at the same time your career with the WWE, having these two different fields, has the wrestling career ever affected your musical career in any way, or vice versa?
I think with Fozzy, probably off the bat, having some notoriety as a wrestler probably hurt Fozzy. I think there was a lot of people who thought that maybe this was some kind of a vanity project or some kind of a stunt show or whatever, but it took a while. I think sometimes for us, it might have taken us twice as long to get people's respect because I'm in the band. And after a while, you realize every band has some kind of a gimmick. Kiss has face paint, and Slipknot has, masks. But that only lasts for so long. Either the music is good or the music is bad, and it doesn't matter who's in the band. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. So I think when we continue to release great records and put on great live shows, and the band keeps growing in perception and in the buzz, people don't care as much that Chris Jericho is the singer of the band, nor should they, because the band kicks ass, the singing is great, the songs are great, the shows are great. What more do you want? So I think now more than ever, we've got a real great reputation. And it's almost like, Taylor Momsen in Pretty Reckless, or Jared Leto in 2 Seconds to Mars. You don't really care as much anymore, or concern yourself. Bruce Dickinson's an airline pilot. Doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I don't expect him to come on stage and sing songs about little feet and small bags of peanuts, and controlling the cockpit. And vice versa, when I go to fly somewhere and Bruce Dickinson's the pilot, I don't want Bruce singing Under the Hills. I want him to fly the fucking plane and land it safely. So I think it doesn't really matter at a certain point. It's just get your job done, put on a great show, and if people still have a problem with me singing, there's nothing more I can do. I always say that the people that really don't like Fozzy are the ones that have never heard us. And if you still haven't heard us, and it's still because I'm the singer, well, you either get your head on your ass or you won't. I can't change it either way.
Awesome. That's really good to hear. When you talk about the musical projects, obviously, Fozzy is going to keep you busy for next couple of years in respect to touring as well. But are there any other musical projects that sometimes you feel that your vocals might be perfect for something like a collaboration with let's say any of the metal bands that you are a fan of?
Well, I mean, I've done some stuff like that before. There's a band here in the States called Federal Legion, such as Mike Portnoy and
David Wilson.
Kind of an all-star heavy metal covers band. And that was a lot of fun. I did a bunch of gigs with those guys. But, we all have our main gig, and I think it's fun to do it as a side project, but everyone else is out there working and making original music. And I did something for Metal Blade Records called Blood Divisions a few months ago, which is kind of a Florida all-star death metal band with vocals, which was an interesting mix, but it was really fun. That was pretty cool. I mean, musicians like playing with other musicians. That's what we do. But for the most part, I mean, Fozzy's very busy, especially now with Judas and kind of all the problem circumstances behind that, and all the press, and with all the things that I do. It would have to be something very, very special for me to want to get involved in it. But doesn't mean that it couldn't happen. We had M. Shadow sing San Diego with us a few years ago. It was a lot of fun. So it just depends on what the situation is and what my time frame is like.
Awesome, dude. Man, thank you so much for sparing some time. I hope to see you live someday in India. And I'm really happy to say that I have made it to your list today.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. We hope to see you soon, man.
Take care, buddy. See ya.